The massive alien warship hung in space like a dark storm cloud, its metallic surface reflecting the distant starlight. Admiral James Reed stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Thunder, his weathered hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the main view screen. The alien vessel belonged to the Stellar Empire, a civilization that had ruled the galaxy for over 10,000 years. "They're hailing us again, sir," reported Communications Officer Tom Wilson, his fingers hovering over the control panel. Reed nodded slowly. This would be the last warning he would give them. For 300 years, humanity had endured the Empire's oppression. They had been treated as nothing more than primitive beings, denied access to advanced technology, forbidden to expand beyond their solar system, and forced to pay crushing tributes in resources and labor. "Open the channel," Reed commanded, his voice carrying the weight of humanity's collective suffering. The screen flickered, revealing the Imperial commander. Like all members of the Empire's ruling species, he had gray skin that seemed to shimmer with an inner light, and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Imperial Law 247b. Return to your designated space immediately, or face immediate destruction." Reed allowed himself a small smile. The Empire had no idea what humanity had achieved in secret. While pretending to be confined to their solar system, humans had built hidden shipyards in distant asteroid belts and deep space. They had reverse-engineered captured Imperial technology and made improvements the Empire couldn't imagine. "Imperial Commander," Reed spoke clearly, "I am here to deliver a message from Earth's united government. For 3 centuries, you have oppressed us, exploited us, and treated us as lesser beings. That ends today." The alien commander's upper eyes narrowed. "You dare threaten the Empire? Your single ship is no match for Dash." "Look behind you," Reed interrupted. As if on cue, space itself seemed to tear open as hundreds of human warships dropped out of hyperspace, surrounding the Imperial vessel. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering, combining stolen Imperial technology with humanity's unique innovations. Their hulls were decorated with the scars of secret battles, testing their weapons against Imperial outposts in the distant reaches of space. The alien commander's gray skin paled to almost white. "Impossible. You're confined to your system. How did you dash?" "While you were busy counting your tributes and enforcing your laws, we were preparing," Reed explained. "Every mineral shipment you demanded? We sent you the lowest grade ore, keeping the best for ourselves. Those primitive fusion reactors you allowed us to have? They powered the computers that designed these ships. Your arrogance blinded you to our potential." Warning alarms blared on the Imperial ship as its sensors finally processed the true threat they faced. The human fleet wasn't just large, it was technologically superior. Each vessel carried weapons that could pierce Imperial shields as if they were paper, using principles the Empire had never discovered. "This is your only warning," Reed continued. "Humanity is no longer your subject race. We are declaring our independence, and we're prepared to fight for it. You have 2 options: recognize Earth and all human colonies as a sovereign nation, or face the consequences." The commander's response was predictable. "The Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We will crush your pathetic rebellion like we have crushed thousands before." Reed sighed. He had expected this response, but he had hoped for better. "Very well. Remember, you chose this path." He turned to his tactical officer. "Show them what humanity is capable of." A single shot fired from the Thunder, a concentrated beam of energy using principles the Empire had never mastered. It sliced through the Imperial warship's shields like they weren't there, cutting a precise line across its hull but deliberately avoiding critical systems. The Imperial commander's 4 eyes widened in shock as warning lights flooded his bridge. How did you?" "That was a warning shot," Reed explained calmly. "The next one won't be. You have 1 hour to contact your superiors and deliver our terms." After that, we start dismantling the Empire's presence in this sector. Choose wisely. As the communication channel closed, Reed looked at his crew. Their faces showed determination mixed with pride. Humanity had endured, adapted, and overcome. Now it was time to show the galaxy that the age of Imperial dominance was over. The next hour would determine whether this change would come through peace or war. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same again. The hour passed like a creeping shadow. On the bridge of the Thunder, Admiral Reed watched the chronometer tick down its final minutes. The Imperial warship remained silent, its damaged hull a testament to humanity's superior technology. "Sir," Tom Wilson called out, "we're detecting multiple hyperspace signatures. Large ones." Reed nodded grimly. As expected. They never could take a hint. He opened a fleet-wide channel. "All ships, battle formation Delta. Remember your training. Today we show them what humanity can do." Space twisted and warped as 50 Imperial dreadnoughts emerged from hyperspace, their massive forms dwarfing the single damaged warship. Each was twice the size of the Thunder, bristling with weapons that had kept the Empire in power for millennia. The fleet admiral's face appeared on the main screen, his 4 eyes blazing with fury. "In the name of the Eternal Empire, you will submit or be destroyed. Your pathetic rebellion ends here." Reed's response was to press a single button on his command chair. Across the human fleet, hidden panels slid open, revealing rows of sleek, black devices that the Empire had never seen before. They were quantum disruptors, weapons that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. "All ships," Reed commanded, "execute pattern break." The human fleet moved with perfect coordination, their crews linked by neural interfaces that the Empire had dismissed as primitive cybernetics. Before the Imperial ships could fire, the human vessels seemed to blur, each projecting multiple phantom images of itself. "Impossible," the Imperial Admiral roared. "No species has mastered quantum mirroring." "You should have studied Earth's history more carefully," Reed replied calmly. "We've spent centuries perfecting the art of war. While you relied on brute force, we learned finesse." The battle that followed was unlike anything the Empire had seen in its 10,000 years of dominance. The human ships danced through space, their phantom images confusing Imperial targeting systems. When the Imperial ships fired their planet-killing weapons, they hit nothing but empty space. The Thunder led the charge, its quantum disruptors tearing holes in reality around the Imperial ships. 3 dreadnoughts found themselves pulled into pocket dimensions, their crews trapped in spaces where the laws of physics themselves had been rewritten. "Status report," Reed called out as his ship banked hard to avoid enemy fire. 6 Imperial ships disabled, his tactical officer reported. 4 more showing critical damage. "Our casualties, 0. The Imperial Admiral's face appeared again, this time showing clear signs of fear. "What are you? How can you have this technology?" "We are human," Reed answered simply. "While you saw us as primitives, we were watching, learning, and improving upon every scrap of technology we could find. Your greatest mistake was thinking we would stay down forever." As if to emphasize his point, a series of synchronized quantum bursts from the human fleet carved through space like a cosmic blade, bisecting 12 more Imperial ships. The vessels didn't explode, they simply fell silent, their power cores safely contained by precise quantum fields that the humans had perfected through decades of secret testing. "Your empire is built on the belief that older means better," Reed continued. "But humanity's strength lies in our ability to adapt, to take ideas and make them our own. Every technology you used to oppress us, we studied and improved upon. Every weakness you thought we had, we turned into a strength." The remaining Imperial ships began to retreat, their formations breaking down in the face of humanity's overwhelming technological superiority. But Reed wasn't finished. He had one more demonstration planned. "All ships, activate the Prometheus protocol," he ordered. Streams of golden energy began flowing between the human ships, forming a vast web of pure power. The Empire had always believed that ships couldn't share energy on this scale, the physics shouldn't allow it. But humans had found a way, just as they had found ways around every other, impossible, barrier. The Imperial Admiral watched in horror as his remaining ships were caught in a net of energy that simply shut them down, leaving them floating helplessly in space. "This sector is now under human protection," Reed announced to the disabled Imperial fleet. "And this is just the beginning. The age of Imperial oppression is over." As the human fleet moved to secure their prisoners, Reed allowed himself a moment of reflection. The real war was just beginning, but humanity had made its point. The galaxy would never be the same, and the Empire had finally learned what humans were truly capable of. News of the Imperial fleet's defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. In the Empire's central palace on their homeworld, the High Council gathered for an emergency session. The massive chamber, with its towering crystal columns and ancient banners, buzzed with anger and fear. Grand Admiral Marcus watched the holographic replay of the battle for the 100th time. Unlike his fellow council members, he was human, one of the few who had earned a position in the Empire through decades of loyal service. Or so they had thought. "This is outrageous." High Counselor Dax slammed his fist on the polished table. His gray skin pulsed with angry red patterns. "How dare these primitives hide such technology? They must be crushed immediately." Marcus kept his face carefully neutral. For 30 years, he had played the role of the good human, the exception that proved the rule. All while feeding information back to Earth through channels so secret even the Empire's best spies never discovered them. "The humans have disabled our best ships," another counselor argued. "We must respond with overwhelming force. Send the Grand Fleet." "The Grand Fleet?" Marcus finally spoke, his voice carrying the weight of his apparent authority. "That would leave the core worlds undefended. Surely a more measured response dash." "Silence, human." Dax snapped. "Your people have revealed themselves as traitors. Your position on this council is suspended, pending investigation." Marcus bowed his head, hiding a small smile. Everything was going according to plan. "As you wish, High Counselor. I will submit to any investigation." He had already transmitted his final report to Earth hours ago. By now, human forces would be moving into position for the next phase. As guards led Marcus away, the council continued their debate. None of them noticed the tiny quantum particles he had released into the air, particles that would transmit every word of their strategy session to the human fleet. Meanwhile, aboard the Thunder, Admiral Reed received Marcus's final transmission. "Our agent confirms it," he told his command staff. "The Empire is mobilizing the Grand Fleet. Exactly as we predicted. All the pieces are in place, sir," Captain Laura Jones reported. She had commanded the civilian ships that had secretly planted quantum beacons throughout Imperial space over the past decade. "The moment they move their fleet, we'll have them." Reed turned to the tactical display, where hundreds of human ships waited in hidden positions across the galaxy. The Empire thought humanity was confined to one sector, but they had long since spread their influence far and wide, hiding in plain sight. "The Empire has ruled through fear for 10,000 years, Reed addressed his officers. "They've forgotten that fear can work both ways. Today, we show them what it means to be afraid." Deep in Imperial space, automated shipyards that had been sabotaged years ago began producing warships with critical flaws in their quantum shielding. Supply lines that seemed secure were already compromised, their quantum signatures masked by human technology. "Sir," Tom Wilson called out, "we're detecting movement from the Imperial capital. The Grand Fleet is deploying." Reed watched as thousands of Imperial warships emerged from hyperspace, forming up into their traditional attack formations. It was an impressive sight, nearly half of the Empire's total military strength, committed to crushing the human rebellion. They never learn, Reed sighed. Send the signal to all hidden units. Operation Thunderstrike begins now. Across Imperial space, quantum beacons activated simultaneously. Each one created a microscopic temporary wormhole, just large enough for a stream of data to pass through. In an instant, the Empire's most secure communication networks were flooded with evidence of their crimes against not just humanity, but dozens of other species. Every atrocity, every broken treaty, every act of oppression was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy. The Empire had maintained control not just through military might, but through careful manipulation of information. Now, that control was shattered. Let them come with their grand fleet, Reed told his crew. While they're focused on us, 1,000 rebellions will spark across their empire. This war won't be won with ships alone, but with the truth. The stage was set for the largest battle in galactic history. But this time, humanity wasn't fighting alone. The Imperial Grand Fleet filled the void of space, their massive ships arranged in the traditional Spear of Destiny formation that had conquered 1,000 worlds. At its center, the Imperial flagship, Glory Eternal, stretched 20 kilometers from bow to stern, its golden hull reflecting the light of distant stars. All human vessels will power down and surrender, the Imperial Grand Admiral's voice boomed across all frequencies. This is your final warning. The Empire has ruled for 10,000 years. Your rebellion is nothing but a spark against an eternal flame. Admiral Reed stood on the Thunder's bridge, watching the enemy fleet with calm eyes. Send our response, he ordered Tom Wilson. The message was simple: look around you. Confusion rippled through the Imperial fleet as their sensors detected new energy signatures appearing throughout their formation. Hundreds of ships were decloaking, but they weren't human vessels. They were ships from dozens of other species that the Empire had oppressed over the millennia. This is the Free Worlds Alliance, a new voice broadcast. It belonged to a member of the scaled Draken race, long thought to be completely subjugated by the Empire. Humanity has shown us that resistance is possible. Today, we stand with them. More ships appeared. The crystalline vessels of the Silicon Collective, the organic ships of the Verdant Harmony, the quantum ships of the Dark Matter Nomads, all species that had suffered under Imperial rule, all secretly armed and trained by humanity over the past century. Impossible, the Grand Admiral sputtered. These races are under control. Their worlds are occupied. Wrong, Reed responded. While you watched us, thinking we were trapped in our solar system, we were reaching out. Every trade ship you let through carried messages. Every diplomat hosted secret meetings. We united them, armed them, and showed them that the Empire isn't invincible. The battle began without warning. The Imperial fleet's perfect formation suddenly became a deadly trap as Allied ships activated quantum disruptors from within their ranks. Humanity's gift to their allies tore holes in the Empire's carefully planned strategy. All ships, execute Operation Avalanche, Reed commanded. The human fleet split into smaller groups, each leading squadrons of Allied vessels in precise attacks. The Empire's traditional tactics, unchanged for millennia, proved useless against the combined innovations of 100 species. Draken ships, using modified human stealth technology, slipped past Imperial shields to deliver devastating strikes. Silicon Collective vessels absorbed enemy fire and redirected it back with terrible accuracy. The Dark Matter Nomads opened micro-wormholes that swallowed Imperial torpedoes and spat them back at their launchers. Sir, Laura Jones reported, Imperial command and control is breaking down. They can't coordinate their responses against so many different attack patterns. She was right. The Empire had always fought against single enemies, crushing them with overwhelming force. They had no doctrine for facing multiple species, each using different technologies and tactics, all coordinated by human quantum communications. The Glory Eternal launched its planet-killer weapon, a beam of pure energy that could shatter worlds. But humanity had planned for this too. Hundreds of quantum beacons activated simultaneously, creating a maze of micro-wormholes that caught the beam and scattered it harmlessly across empty space. Their flagship is vulnerable, Reed noted. Send in the Thunder Wings. Small ships, each barely larger than a fighter, emerged from the Thunder's hangar bays. They were humanity's latest innovation, vessels powered by artificial quantum singularities, capable of manipulating space itself as a weapon. The Thunder Wings danced through the Imperial formation, their quantum fields disrupting shield harmonics and weapon synchronization. Larger ships from the Alliance followed in their wake, striking at the weakened targets with devastating effect. Admiral, Tom Wilson called out, "We're receiving surrenders from multiple Imperial vessel groups." Reed watched as the mighty Grand Fleet began to break apart. Some ships fled, others fought on, but more and more began powering down their weapons. The Empire's greatest armada was being demolished by the very races they had thought safely enslaved. "Send word to all Alliance ships," Reed ordered. "The Empire's core worlds are now vulnerable. Phase 2 begins immediately." The battle wasn't over, but its outcome was clear. The Empire's assumption of superiority had been their undoing. They had created an alliance of their enemies, united under humanity's banner, and now they would pay the price for 10,000 years of oppression. The Imperial capital world of eternal glory blazed like a jewel in space, its golden cities and orbital rings testament to 10,000 years of stolen wealth. As alerts blared across the planet, the High Council gathered in their emergency bunker, a kilometer beneath the surface. "How did we not see this coming?" High Counselor Dax demanded, his skin now pale with fear. "How did they hide such strength from us?" The answer came from an unexpected source. The bunker's main screen activated on its own, showing Admiral Reed's face. "You saw exactly what you wanted to see," he said calmly. "That was your weakness." Guards rushed to their weapons, but they found them powerless. The entire bunker's systems had been compromised years ago, when it was built by seemingly loyal slave labor, human workers who had planted quantum transmitters in its very walls. "Your bunker isn't as secure as you think," Reed continued. "Nothing in your empire is. While you celebrated your superiority, we were patient. Every building you made us construct, every ship you forced us to maintain, every computer system you ordered us to service, we left our mark on all of them." Above the capital, the combined fleet of the Free Worlds Alliance emerged from hyperspace. But instead of opening fire, they simply held position. They didn't need to attack, the planet's defenses were already compromised. "Look at your screens," Reed commanded. "Look at what your arrogance has cost you." The Council watched in horror as their planetary shield network shut down. Defense platforms turned their weapons away from the rebel fleet. Orbital factories stopped producing warships and began broadcasting their long histories of slave labor and secret weapons development. 300 years, Reed explained. "That's how long we planned this. Every human you thought was broken by your system was part of our network. Every slave you thought was too primitive to understand your technology was studying it, improving it, preparing for this day." On thousands of Imperial worlds, the same scene played out. Hidden quantum transmitters activated, spreading through systems that the Empire had thought secure. But humans had been maintaining those systems for generations, adding their own improvements that the Empire never noticed. "Your civilization is built on the suffering of others," Reed continued. "We didn't just come to defeat you, we came to expose you. Every crime, every atrocity, every act of oppression has been documented and is now being broadcast across the galaxy." The High Council watched helplessly as their own security footage played on screens throughout their bunker. It showed countless meetings where they had casually ordered the destruction of rebellious worlds, the enslavement of primitive species, the hoarding of medical technologies that could have saved billions of lives. "But we are not like you," Reed's voice softened slightly. "We don't seek revenge. We want justice. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Resist, and you will learn what it means to fight an enemy who has had centuries to prepare. One by one, imperial installations across the capital began surrendering. The High Council's own guards laid down their weapons, many revealing themselves as secret members of the resistance, beings who had waited years or decades for this moment. How? Dax whispered, his authority crumbling before his eyes. How did you coordinate all of this? We learned from Earth's history, Reed explained. Every resistance movement, every revolution, every struggle for freedom taught us something. We studied our own past to build a better future. While you thought we were primitive because we still fought among ourselves, we were learning from each conflict, each struggle, each victory and defeat. The thunder descended through the atmosphere, landing directly in front of the Imperial Palace. As its doors opened, troops from 100 different species marched out, humans fighting alongside the very races the Empire had tried to keep divided. Your empire ends today, Reed announced. But the galaxy won't fall into chaos. We've spent centuries preparing for what comes next. The Free Worlds Alliance isn't just a military coalition, it's the foundation of a new galactic society. One built on cooperation, not domination. As the council members were led away to face justice, Reed looked out over the capital city. Phase 2 was complete, but the real challenge lay ahead, building something better from the ashes of empire. 1 month after the fall of the imperial capital, Admiral Reed stood in the great hall of what had once been the High Council chamber. The crystal columns now displayed the flags of all member species of the Free Worlds Alliance. Where once only the imperial banner hung, now hundreds of symbols represented the unity of the freed races. The reports from the outer sectors are encouraging, Laura Jones said, reviewing data on her tablet. 90% of Imperial forces have surrendered. The remaining holdouts are being contained by local alliance forces. Reed nodded, but his mind was on bigger challenges. Winning the war had been the easy part, they'd had centuries to plan for that. Building peace would be much harder. What's the status of the emergency relief efforts? He asked. The human medical ships have reached the worst affected worlds, Tom Wilson reported. The Empire was hoarding cures for dozens of diseases that plagued the outer colonies. Our doctors are distributing them now, along with food and supplies. The chamber filled with representatives from across the galaxy. Some floated on anti-gravity platforms, others moved on multiple legs, while some existed as pure energy contained in special suits. This was the first meeting of the Galactic Council, the replacement for the Empire's corrupt system. Friends, Reed addressed the gathering, his voice translated simultaneously into hundreds of languages. We've won our freedom, but our real work is just beginning. The Empire kept us divided, fighting each other while they ruled from above. They made us believe we were different, incompatible, destined to be enemies. He gestured to the quantum communication network that now linked all Alliance worlds. But look at what we've achieved together. Humans brought their adaptability, their drive to improve and innovate. The Silicon Collective contributed their computational power. The Draken brought their strategic wisdom. The dark matter nomads shared their understanding of space itself. A holographic display activated in the center of the chamber, showing the galaxy with all its newly freed worlds glowing bright. Every species has something unique to offer, Reed continued. The Empire saw these differences as weaknesses to exploit. We see them as strengths to celebrate. But not all was perfect. Reports were coming in of former imperial worlds struggling with their newfound freedom. Some faced food shortages as imperial supply chains collapsed. Others dealt with power vacuums as local governors fled. We've established emergency response teams, Laura announced to the council. Mixed crews from different species, each bringing their own expertise. Humans provide organization and logistics, Verdant Harmony members help restore damaged ecosystems, Silicon Collective units repair critical infrastructure. The council chamber buzzed with discussion as representatives shared their own challenges and offered solutions. This was what the Empire had feared most: different species working together, solving problems as equals. There will be those who resist change, Reed warned. Some will miss the Empire's order, no matter how corrupt it was. Others will try to grab power for themselves. We must be vigilant. As if to prove his point, reports arrived of an Imperial admiral refusing to surrender his fleet. He'd taken refuge in a dense asteroid field, threatening to destroy civilian ships if anyone approached. "Let me handle this," offered a Draken commander. "My ships can navigate the asteroids better than anyone else." "Take some of our quantum disruptors," a human captain added. "You might need them. And our sensors can track him through the dust clouds," a Silicon Collective representative chimed in. Reed watched with pride as the different species coordinated their response. This was everything humanity had hoped for, a galaxy where cooperation replaced conquest, where different races worked together instead of fighting each other. "The Empire ruled through fear and division," he told the council. "We will lead through unity and hope. Every world that joins us makes us stronger. Every species that adds its voice makes us wiser." As the council session continued, plans were made, problems were solved, and the foundation of a new galactic civilization grew stronger. The Empire had lasted 10,000 years, but its replacement would last even longer, because it was built not on dominance, but on the combined strength of all its members. 5 years after the Empire's fall, Admiral Reed stood at the observation deck of the newly constructed Unity Station, watching ships from 100 different species come and go through the massive spaceport. The station, built through the combined efforts of all Alliance members, served as both a trading hub and a symbol of their new civilization. "Hard to believe it's been 5 years, Laura Jones said, joining him at the window. She'd been promoted to fleet commander, leading the combined peacekeeping forces that protected Alliance space. "Sometimes it feels like yesterday," Reed replied, watching as a massive Silicon Collective vessel guided a small fleet of merchant ships through a complex docking procedure. "Other times, it feels like a lifetime ago." The Empire that had dominated the galaxy for 10,000 years was now just a memory. In its place, the Free Worlds Alliance had built something unprecedented, a civilization where every species had a voice, where technology and knowledge were shared freely, and where cooperation had replaced conquest. "The latest reports from the outer territories are in," Tom Wilson announced, approaching with a data pad. He now served as Chief of Communications for the Alliance. "The last Imperial holdout has finally requested to join the Alliance. They're sending representatives next week." Reed smiled. The Empire's fall had been swift, but the real victory had come in what they built afterward. The Alliance hadn't simply replaced one system of control with another, they had created something entirely new. "Show me the education statistics," Reed requested. The holographic display activated, showing thousands of dots representing schools and universities across Alliance space. Where once the Empire had restricted knowledge, now learning centers flourished. Humans taught adaptation and innovation, while Silicon Collective members shared advanced mathematics. Draken warriors taught strategy alongside dark matter nomads who revealed the secrets of quantum physics. "Medical advances are exceeding all projections," Laura added. The combination of human creativity, Silicon Collective processing power, and Verdant Harmony's biological knowledge has cured diseases that plagued worlds for millennia. But perhaps the most significant change was cultural. The observation deck looked down on a massive garden where beings from across the galaxy mingled freely. Children from different species played together, learning each other's languages and customs. Artists collaborated on works that combined various cultural traditions. "There's something you should see, Admiral," Tom said, pulling up another report. "Remember those quantum beacons we used to expose the Empire's secrets? The children are using modified versions to share stories and songs between worlds. They're calling it the Galaxy Wide Web." Reed laughed. Humanity's weapons of war had become tools of peace and connection. It was better than anything they could have planned. A small ship caught his attention, an Imperial design, but modified with human quantum drives and Draken stealth systems. It carried a group of former Imperial citizens who now worked as teachers, sharing their technical knowledge while learning the value of cooperation. The Empire thought power came from controlling others, Reed mused. They never understood that real strength comes from working together. They saw our differences as weaknesses to exploit. We saw them as strengths to combine. The station's warning systems suddenly activated, but it wasn't an alert, it was an announcement. The first graduates of the Alliance Academy were completing their training. Young officers from every member species had learned to work together, combining their unique abilities and perspectives. "That's the future right there," Laura said, watching as the graduation ceremony began in the main hall below. "Not just surviving together, but thriving together." Reed nodded. The Empire had ruled through fear for 10,000 years. The Alliance would last even longer, built on something far stronger: hope, unity, and the combined potential of all its people. "You know what the Empire never understood about humans," he said, watching the celebration below. "We didn't just want to be free. We wanted everyone to be free. They thought we were fighting for ourselves, but we were fighting for something bigger." As the graduates took their oaths to protect and serve all peoples of the Alliance, Reed felt a deep sense of satisfaction. The galaxy had changed forever, not through the might of humanity alone, but through the combined strength of all who dreamed of a better future. The Empire had trembled when humanity's fleet arrived. But it wasn't their weapons that had truly changed the galaxy, it was their vision of a universe where all species could rise together, free and united among the stars.